Hi guys, and welcome back to another segment of the True Crime series with me, Stephen Gillen. Now, a lot has been put out there, guys, and I know a lot of you guys are asking for certain content. There's so much. I've been interviewed so much, guys in the international press and so forth. There's a lot of interviews out there, but a lot of this exclusive content which hasn't been spoken or read before, I am putting into this true crime series for you, with the lessons of what I learned on the back of all these experiences. Hope you're okay out there, guys. So today I'm going to talk about the day I met the Krays and corrupt prison officers in high security prison. On my sentence, guys, it's not a case of what prisons did I go to. For me, as a Category A, who was released as a Category A prisoner and done over 12 years in one lump, it was what prison didn't I go to. I was very disruptive. You know, there were times I was seen as one of Britain's most dangerous prisoners. The truth is, I found it very, very hard to cope, and my rebellion and my disruption was me trying to defend myself. It was certainly about survival, and it was about self-respect. I'd been stripped of everything else. My future, hope. I didn't think I was going to get out of there, guys. I really didn't. I didn't know what kind of human being I would be. I didn't know what I would be like after 12 years of that environment. I didn't know if I would live through it, or if I would have to defend myself and maybe kill someone else, unfortunately. It was really that bad in them days. You know, there was a lot of gang stuff, and the way I was with my life and organised crime out on the street and the things that I'd done and the associations I had, that translated into prison as well, right? This gives you a lot of authority, and it protects you up to a point. You know, and of course it is where you are, and you're with certain groups at a certain level because of this, and there's a lot of safety in there. But you also have to remember that that also makes you a target from other up-and-coming guys, or, you know, there's a lot of tension, a lot of fractious stuff in there. You know, a lot of people having a hard time, a lot of crazy people, you know, so threats and, you know, I see people be murdered in front of me, right, on a few occasions in there. These things can happen at any time, especially in high security prison, where in the dispersal and Category A estate, where there are many prisoners with long years stretched out. Many will never get out again and have nothing to lose. So I'd been into my sentence about 6 years, you know. Now I have to be honest, guys, there was times I walked them landings at that time. I'd been through so much violence, so much trauma, that I actually thought that all emotion had been sucked out of me, that I was subhuman, like the Walking Dead. This was like a defense mechanism for me, and I was a very angry guy. I was angry because I didn't cope too well, and, you know, the way they treated me and the way I was moved about, and, you know, all the psychological, physical, mental abuse and different stuff was very tough. I used to fight against that constantly, and it was a very tough ride, guys, okay? So this is what I was like about 6 years in. This is only halfway. I'm still a Cat A. I still have 6 years to do or more. I can't see myself getting out. So you do what you have to do to survive. Now look, the truth is about prison officers, guys, most are okay. You know, they're kind of good guys. You know, in a way, they go there, they do a job, they're trying to pay their bills like everyone else. They're trying to get on. They don't have a power trip or anything like this. They're trying to get through the day like everyone else. But there is always a selection of bad apples, guys, in anything. And it's just the same in prison. You always seem to get this kind of group that are really known, that are hardliners, that are horrible bastards who kind of thrive on the power trip that they've got. They make people's life a misery. You know, they kind of push people. You know, they have safety in numbers. In my experience, a lot of these guys, these was not the proper men, right? These was the guys who, you know, may have been bullied at school and, you know, had a chip in their shoulder, this kind of thing, right? You know, this propelled them. They was always like that in my experience. And of course you get your corrupt officers within there. Now, this is a big kind of a hidden thing at how this actually goes on, right? But I won't say the prison, but I was about 6 years into the sentence, guys, this long-term sentence of 14 years as a Category A prisoner. And my name and the kind of people I mixed with, and I was a Category A and how I was treated, and the experience I had behind me and my name, I always mixed and wisely with a certain group of friends who was like me, who I knew about, I'd heard about, or I was friends with, or I knew their family or knew their history or who they was, right? So in this prison, this was the time Charlie Kray was there. Charlie was a lovely man. He was a gentleman. He had wonderful stories. He was very charismatic. You know, I can remember him really telling me and really harping on, because he had been arrested for this cocaine conspiracy. You know, and he says, you know, and I have to say I believe him, he was set up, you know, and he had nothing to do with it, you know, and he was looking at 10 years. It was a big case because of who he was. So I had many chats with Charlie, many times cups of teas with Charlie, walks around the yard with Charlie and a few other friends who was there at the time. You know, and I also knew Reggie's brother, you know, so we had that in common as well, because Reggie used to write to me. I think he was in Mason at the time. You know, and Reggie would ask me usually about other people, friends of mine, and we would relay messages because we knew some friends of each other, you know. So that was the kind of thing. Now I can remember, you know, I must have been there for a while with Charlie, but they actually moved Charlie out, you know, he went somewhere else. And there was an officer there who I'd always seen around Charlie. You know, he was one of the guys who was always okay, right? He always seemed to treat everyone okay. He was kind of there, he'd have a chat with you. I'd had a few chats with him on a few occasions. So after Charlie went, he seemed to turn up a lot more. You know, and of course I'm always, you know, I'm drawn to people who I think can kind of help me, you know, or be trusted in some kind of way in that situation. Because the truth was, a lot of these officers, I always stayed away from them. There was always a very bad relationship between us. You know, I had a big security file. They always knew who was there, especially the Category A's. You know, I had a massive security file, guys. There was 2 parts to it. It was like that, it really was. Imagine all the stuff they were writing in there, right? Because with Cat A's, what they do, there's an observation book. They're always watching them. They're bugging them up, even in prison. They was putting down our moods, especially who he was associating with, phone calls monitored, all this kind of observational stuff, right? So for me, it was, you know, there was a lot of stuff always against us. So it did lighten and help a little bit. You know, with some officers, some of them who was all right, would have a chat. I'd always be gentleman. They'd always be okay. I'd be graceful. I'd be classy with them. I was never rude in that way. You know, if I ever was pissed off about something and they was taking the piss, they would know about it and it'd be game on and that'd be it, right? But I used to try and behave as much as possible. I really did. I didn't want to go down that path. In many intents and purposes, I found myself positioned into these things. It's just I wasn't taking no shit from them at that time. Not to be advised to anyone else, guys. I just done it the way that I had to do it to cope. It was my journey, right? Okay. So I got talking to this officer, you know, and anyway, you know, he was dropping hints to me about Charlie, you know, Charlie and this and that, and, you know, the kind of things. I've looked at your record, and ain't it funny how all you chaps, all you faces, all you guys, you know each other. You all know each other and this and that. straight away I got the cues, because there's science guys, right? You know, and he dropped to me one day. I was on the landing, and my intuition about this guy was right. He said, Steve, you know, I used to drop a little bit of vodka into Charlie and that here and there. Straight away I've gone, right, you know, he's making an offer in here. So that's how it went on. You know, I had a chat to this guy. He was very valuable in that sense, and I was also interested in, you know, I was having a lot of problems in there with security and all that stuff. So I just wanted to know, look, you know, any information, who was against me, what they was planning and all this stuff. So he'd tell me things, you know, to protect his own self. Obviously, he'd say so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, they're watching you. Even at times, he'd stay away from me. But he'd mark my card about what was actually going on, which was very helpful. But, you know, so he was a corrupt officer, right? And he used to bring in things. I mean, you know, he would bring in things in his time, and they'd be like that, these things. I mean, there'd be phones, there'd be all kinds of contraband and different stuff in there. And what he used to do is he used to bring in vodka, and only bring vodka because it was see-through, you know, in a bowl, and he'd put it under my pillow. So we'd do it when he'd done it. When I didn't know, he'd go and he'd do it, but then he'd come and say, have a look in your thing, there's something in there for you, and then he'd disappear. And then I'd go in there, you know, and there'd be, you know, a little bottle of vodka and all this stuff. You know, needless to say, I'll become a vodka drinker very quickly. But look, it was lovely, you know, because you have to imagine, guys, when you're in a real state of inhumane treatment like that, you know, this is Groundhog Day, you're under unbelievable stress and pressure. I mean, I was really under it then. So this kind of stuff is an absolute godsend. But look, there would be times, guys, you know, I can remember a parcel come in one day, and he sent it over to my pal who was on another wing, and I won't say that. He was a very, very well-known, influential prisoner. He was a friend of mine. And he opened the door in the morning, it was like a rugby ball, put it in the sink, closed the door and disappeared. Now, you know, he used to do this to me. First time he'd done it, you know, as I say, I wouldn't know when he would actually be bringing stuff in. It'd be set up outside, he'd be paid and all that stuff. But when he would do it, right, you know, and, you know, I thought I was being set up, was the first time. Because I thought, what, you know, I jumped out, I thought, what's that? I thought they're setting me up. I thought they're going to come now. I'm going to be nicked with all this stuff, and this is the setup. But, you know, there was a lot of this stuff that went on, and so this was the environment of the time, and this was a corrupt officer who was, it's fair to say that he liked money. It's fair to say he wasn't happy with his wage and all that stuff that he was doing. Now, he'd been a prison officer for many, many years. I'm not going to say any more than that. And the fact of it is that when I went, I got shipped out because there was always a lot of activity around me, you know, and a lot of things happening. And of course, there was a lot more activity now, a lot more alliances, a lot more contraband in the prison. So I got moved as a Cat A, you know, and as a Cat A, they never tell you when you're going, guys. It's one of the best kept secrets in the prison service, they say, because of security. So they come, they have the wand, they have the whole bit, they have the bag, the route sorted out where you're going, you know, and all that stuff. You're searched, pack your gear straight away, bang, you're gone, dogs are ready, in the van, gone. That's it. You don't know where you're going until you actually arrive there. So I was shipped out again. You know, I was shipped out, and I was shipped. I think I went somewhere in the north that time, and but I heard about this guy. I heard this guy from other people, you know, in the prison, other people I'd left behind. That, you know, he'd gone on and he'd found someone else who was kind of a chap who was influential on the wing, who he thought could do things. But the thing with this guy was he would always go into the records. He knew who the guys was, who the main guys was on the wing and all that, and he'd check them out. He was a clever guy, right? Because he'd check them out, and he'd make sure he knew the staunch ones, because he knew the ones that weren't right, obviously, and couldn't be trusted. So we knew the staunch ones, who was staunch to the end and who was of a certain profile, or we thought that he could work with. So this was meeting Charlie Kray and how I knew the Kray brothers and that family and what that was like at that time. And this is a bit of an insight about what it was like for me and corrupt prison officers within the UK prison system. I hope you found that story fascinating, guys. These are true stories. You know, there may be other little bits, all these are true stories of incidents and experiences of my life. Now, what did I learn from these experiences? The truth is, I learned that, you know what, powerful allies are definitely more important than enemies. Allies and allies that can help you and are positioned for the right reasons, right, and have the right incentive are absolutely crucial, especially when it comes down to your survival. Even in business, right, it's about getting them right people and treating them right people well. It's also about being around the right people and not lowering your standards. Information is key, guys, and what I learned from this is in protecting yourself and to move forward safely, you know, even your survival, and to have a better quality of life and be safer, getting the right information and the right alliances with the right people at certain times that can help you as you're going forward are absolutely crucial. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you on the next segment. Make sure to subscribe, like, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help and support you on your own personal journey of success.